Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Harmon. Today I'm back in Tacoma, Washington, as I found a lot of cases in this area. So I'm back here in Tacoma and I found this absolutely horrific case of a young boy. I'll explain all the details along the way, but I'm going to walk to a park here which is named after him. It was like a parking lot at the time of the horrific crime, but they turned it into a park and they named it after him. So I'm gonna walk around, show you the park, and then tell you guys this story along the way. Let's get into it. So this horrific story starts on May 20th, 1989. Ironically, only a few days before I was born. 7-year-old Ryan Allen Hade was hanging out down the street from his place, and again, which is now a park, but at the time was a vacant lot. Not entirely sure what he was doing in that area. Maybe just hanging out, riding a bike. Doesn't give too much details about it, but he was hanging out in a vacant lot. And that was when a perpetrator by the name of Earl Kenneth Schreiner ambushed Ryan and attacked him severely. Ryan was sexually assaulted, his genitals were mutilated, and he had been stabbed numerous times by Earl Schreiner, essentially left for dead. And again, just one of the most horrific cases against a young child that I have ever heard of. Now, the surprising twist of this case is the fact that Ryan actually survived this horrific attack. But unfortunately, Ryan ended up passing away on June 9th, 2005, after enduring a motorcycle accident. Now, a little bit more background on Ryan Hade is that he went through tons and tons of reconstructive surgery to try to repair many different parts of his body that were mutilated or stabbed, and went through a lot of counseling in middle school to try to, of course, help him get through this terrible event that happened to him. When he went to middle school, many classmates, of course, recognized his name, and because of a lot of teasing and bullying and not wanting to be noticed by others, his parents moved him to a different school, and one that would help him with his dyslexia and ADHD. Now, like I said, this park is named after Ryan himself, and this is where he was attacked and left for dead. I often wonder how many people go to this park, knowing about this backstory. When Ryan finally completed 9th grade, he ended up living with his father in Oregon for a while before returning back here to Tacoma. Eventually, he enrolled in a technical college to learn upholstery, and at the age of 18, he decided to leave his home and do some real estate investing, where he ended up renovating a few houses and, of course, trying to start a career in that. At the time of his death in 2005, he was living in a mobile home on 7 acres. His mom was able to get a donation started for him, which ended up totaling $1 million. And so I'm not entirely sure how much of that money he actually saw before he died. Now, besides motorcycle riding, Ryan also enjoyed snowboarding, skydiving, and even got flying lessons. Earl Schreiner had been described by a criminologist as a slightly retarded man with a bizarre physical appearance, and had a long history of sadistic sexual assaults, but only had one conviction, before he committed the horrific act on Ryan. In 1966, 16-year-old Earl Schreiner was detained on suspicion of strangling a 7-year-old girl. He eventually led police to a developmentally disabled 15-year-old girl whom he had also strangled. And he was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but ended up being committed to a mental hospital, and eventually it was dropped, meaning he wasn't actually convicted of the crime. And between 1977 and 1987, while serving another 10-year sentence for abducting and assaulting 2 other 16-year-old girls, Earl repeatedly disclosed different fantasies and plans on how he would abduct and hurt victims. So you might ask, how on earth was this guy not put in prison for longer, and how come he was let out? Unfortunately, I wish I knew that information. I don't know why this seems to happen on a regular basis when it comes to some of these dangerous individuals. You know, whether it be a judge or someone else that decides that, oh, this person's not a risk, even though they have a long history of, you know, these types of terrible assaults on people. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They let him out, and then he did the horrific thing to Ryan. Now, Earl Schreiner was eventually convicted of the terrible sexual assault and stabbing and mutilation of Ryan, and he was given 131 years in prison. I guess the one good thing about this case is the fact that the US Supreme Court finally put a new law in place allowing indefinite confinement on any kind of sex offender. I do hope and pray that Earl Schreiner is one of those individuals who is confined indefinitely, meaning even if he somehow got appeals to shorten his sentence or something like that, that he would be confined indefinitely. So Ryan Hade ended up dying at the age of 23, like I mentioned, in a motorcycle accident. And so for, 16 years or so, he lived with this horrific assault that happened to him. I just cannot even fathom how he must have felt growing up. Very sad case, but one that was on my list for a long time. I'm glad that they have the park named after Ryan. At least it's kind of like a memorial of sorts. So I'm glad that they have that. Anyway, if you're new around here and you want to see more of these kind of videos, just make sure you subscribe. And until next time, my name's Harmon. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.